Good morning and welcome to the September 4th, 2024 edition of our pre-market prep session. As always, I'm here, Adam Holland, your stock options mindset strategist, expert market practitioner. I really hate using the word expert because we're all students of the game. We're all here trying to get 1% better each and every day. That's our goal. And I'm looking to do exactly that today here. It's even more important during times like what we've had the past few weeks in the market to be disciplined, to make sure that you are minding your game plan, to make sure you are setting alerts, to make sure you are managing effectively, to make sure you are sizing correctly, right? Um, don't let your feelings dictate how you move in markets. Let markets dictate how you move in markets. Just because, you might say, oh, I haven't had, a lot of time to trade and now I'm back and I'm ready to do something. If you're ready to do something and the market isn't ready to do something, it's a big recipe for loss, right? If you come to the market with feelings of desperation, oh man, I've got to do this, because this happened, and because of that, I need the market to do this for me, or else I can't put food on the table. That's not where you want to be, right? You want to be in markets where you are clear headed, right? Where you have the ability to make good decisions, to manage things effectively. Otherwise, it will not be a fun place for you. So markets are always a game. They're always a place of us versus us, right? Ourselves versus ourselves. How well can we manage ourselves? How well can we manage risk? How well can we make sure that we are on top of handling what we need to handle? Because if you're not on top of it, and you just think you can come here and kind of slack off and be lackadaisical and just, oh, I'm going to get in something and I won't check it. And, oh, the market only goes up, so I'll be fine. Or, oh, I'll just buy this at this point, right? Nope, this is not the place for that. But this is the place where you will be able to look yourself in the mirror every day. And if you are intentional about it, you will be able to get better as a trader, an investor, a husband and wife, an aunt, an uncle, an employee, a business owner, right? It will teach you things about yourself and teach you practices that are universally applicable. And that's exactly why I love it. I love a challenge, and there's no environment in the world like markets, right? Other than space and the deep ocean. There's nowhere else where the possibilities are virtually limitless, right? So I love it because it pushes us to our limits as human beings, having to process things like the market. But while you're doing that, I'm a big fan of hitting multiple birds with one stone. You force yourself to evolve nonstop. You also force yourself to keep up with what's going on in the world, right? In order to be a better human, that make better timed decisions. Because the decisions themselves that you make in life aren't necessarily good or bad. It's just the timing of it. If you decide to go get a steak, not necessarily a bad decision. If you decide to go get a steak while your first child is being born, the timing of that makes it a bad decision. And it's the same thing with markets and anything else. So if you actually take the time to learn how to operate in markets, what you're really doing is taking the time to learn how to do a lot of things at once that will help you in life. And that's what I love about them because I like being uh proactive yet like lazy, in that I'd rather do one thing that helps me get good at 20 things than run around doing 20 different things trying to make them all work. Right? If that makes sense. I'm that guy who wants to take the harder shortcut. I'd rather do one thing that's hard once and address 20 different things. And amazingly, that's what markets allow us to do. So without further ado, let's hop into our top news of the day. But as always, like I said previously, we're here to get 1% better. So throw those ones in the chat, signifying your intention to get 1% better. You don't want to do it by accident. If you trade and you win by accident, you will give that money back wholeheartedly, right? If you trade and you win by accident and you don't manage risk and you don't set your alerts and you don't do this, that money will just go right back to those people that do. So make sure you're always those people that do. You move with intention, and that's exactly what we do here. We declare that intention every morning when we drop that one in the chat. So make sure you do that. Otherwise, what are you doing? Cheating yourself, right? Cheating yourself out of more wins and more level ups. So our top news, back to the 60s. West Texas Intermediate has wiped out all of its gains of the year after dropping into the $60 per barrel range for the first time since the beginning of January. Ample inventories at the end of the summer driving season also put pressure on gasoline, which sunk to a near 3-year low in the latest headlines from the energy sector. Quote, oil recently formed a lower high, suggesting a potential retest of the descending trend line. Seeking Alpha analyst Dean Popplewell wrote in a fresh technical analysis, while others are looking at the fundamentals. Now, catalysts, there were several drivers that pushed crude below $70, where it is traded for much of the year. Reports pointed to progress towards a deal to resolve a dispute that has halted Libyan crude production and exports, as well as the likelihood that OPEC Plus will boost production next month. Commodities also fell broadly after Goldman Sachs warned that copper prices would suffer a sharp correction, prompting fears for the industrial bellwether that is used in EVs, power transmission, and AI data centers. Now, renewed growth worries were another big factor prompting the big moves. Those included concerns about weak global demand, particularly in top oil importer China, which hasn't been showing much signs of a revival. Over in the US, new data prompted concerns about an economic slowdown. American manufacturing production decreased for the first time in 7 months in August, while the ISM's manufacturing PMI contracted for the fifth straight month. Now, in terms of outlook, growth worries haven't been limited to oil. U.S. stocks sold off in the first trading day of September, with the Nasdaq closing down 3% following the Labor Day holiday. Leading the losses was Nvidia, which recorded the largest one-day market cap drop for a U.S. stock in history, given its staggering size. Remember that September is said to be a historically weak month, but the benchmark S&P 500 did recently recover from Black Monday 2024 with a steady rebound over the last few weeks that saw it even end August in positive territory. Now, in terms of consumer news here, more rollbacks. Molson Coors, ticker TAP, has joined the growing list of companies that are ending some of their diversity, equity, and inclusion program policies amid a social media backlash. So we've just got, lining them up, knocking them down one after the next. The maker of Miller and Coors Light beers has announced that it is working to evolve its culture from a primarily DEI focus to a broader view where all employees are welcomed. I don't think all employees weren't welcomed beforehand. Activist and political commentator Robbie Starbuck, you already know the name, once again claimed credit for the DEI shift. He's been a busy man. Other companies that have revised their DEI policies in recent months include Tractor Supply, Deere, Harley Davidson, Lowe's, and Ford. I don't see this affecting the stock of any of these companies. More so just like kind of quelling the mob anger of their customer bases. In terms of stock news, Dow's status after being a part of the blue chip index for nearly a quarter of a century, Intel's recent slump could mean the chip maker may be replaced in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Intel dropped 8.8% to near $20 per share on Tuesday amid a decline in chip stocks and lost more than half of its value this year. That is crazy. And so many people were like, Intel's been around forever. I got to get it on Intel. Intel's going to follow, NVIDIA. It's going to follow AMD. Just because it's in that sector does not mean it will move the same as the rest of them, right? We've been kind of consistently saying here that Intel is one of the most consistent underperformers in a sector that is just absolutely rocketing. And the fact they've shed more than half their value this year when NVIDIA is probably still up over 100% since the year began is crazy. Quote, let's see here. So that made it the worst performer in the Dow with the lowest price in the index. So, quote, Intel being removed from the Dow was likely a long time coming, noted Ryan Dietrich, chief market strategist at the Carson Group. And then there are a few stocks that I guess expert thinks are well positioned to replace Intel in the index. Yeah, like I said, I'm not invested in Intel. I don't want to be invested in Intel. I feel like we've been trying to make Intel work, like like just trying and giving what is it like stimulus, right? Like Biden passing the Chips Act and really trying to like spark something from Intel, and it just hasn't been working. So not every stock goes back up. Intel might, but that's important to remember because everyone thinks, oh, well, I'm getting this at such a great price. The company might just go out of business, right? Like companies are the same as species of animals. It's natural selection. Millions are destined to die over the course of time. Millions of species. It's the same thing with companies. Millions of companies are destined to die. It doesn't matter if it used to be huge or it used to be this, it used to be that, right? It does not matter. The market dictates. So sometimes the next Nvidia, the next Apple, the next Meta is just Nvidia, Apple, and Meta. Don't always go out looking for that next best thing when the best thing continues paying and paying effectively. That's why they're the best. Media news censorship efforts in the wake of Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg's explosive admission on government censorship. The Department of Justice will no longer attempt to block content on social media pertaining to foreign threats to national security or elections. DOJ and FBI officials will now leave it up to social media firms to decide whether to post shared information, remove content, or block users, and will not retaliate against their decision to take action. Last week, Zuckerberg said it was wrong for the Biden administration officials to pressure Meta to censor COVID-19 content in 2021. Um, yeah, I mean, these are the most powerful entities in the world. These social media platforms, hands down, the most powerful, and they're responsible for shaping our realities. And that's why, again, for people who love to argue about politics, all you're doing is just wasting your time and your energy because people who love Trump love Trump. They live in a completely different reality. People that love Kamala. They live in a completely different reality. There is nothing you can say in a 15-minute conversation or an hour-long conversation that can usurp the hours long information flow that they get daily that are skewing them toward one side, right? So for those people who, you find yourself doing that often, just save your breath. Unless you're really just like selling into the whole escapist idea that I feel like, politics imbues in people, which is I'm just gonna fight for this cause so much more than I'll fight for myself, and it'll distract me from my problems. But it's like, I mean, the power for them to have complete oversight over what happens on their platforms means very easily whichever person they want to win, they could strongly skew the realities that exist in order to position for that, um, which is wild. Very, very, very wild. I mean, the time that we live in is crazy. It's getting closer and closer to a simulation. If when somebody can just teeter totter, and history's kind of always been like that, people will control things as much as they can control things, but literally zero oversight. They're no longer going to attempt to block content on social media. And again, some people say it's a good thing, some people say it's a bad thing. I just think it's something that gives even more power to the companies, which again, what is good? What is bad? We don't know. You rather have the government controlling what you see or Mark Zuckerberg controlling what you see. Don't really know, right? Don't really know. Honestly, could you objectively say one is worse than the other? Not really, right? Not really. And that's what's hard. In terms of today's markets in Asia, Japan, so looking mostly red, pretty much all red across the board. In Asia, Japan down 4.2%, Hong Kong down 1.1, China down 0.7, India down 0.3, the FTSE in London down 0.6, Paris down 0.9, Frankfurt down 0.7, the Dow down 0.2, S&P down 0.4, Nasdaq down 0.7%, crude down 0.6, gold down 0.3, Bitcoin down 4.3% to 56,760. Anything important going on today? No, I don't believe so. Let me go back actually and check on our week ahead just to see what just to see what earnings we have going on. So Wednesday we had HPE. So Thursday we got Avgo, DocuSign, so Avgo and DocuSign might be ones to keep on the watch for tomorrow, just in terms of our post-earnings strategy, right? It's not something that we've looked to a whole lot during this earnings season, but with things so slow, it could be something to take advantage of. So everybody in the trading group, that, you've learned that. That's something we can look at, both of those for a little post-earnings play strategy as they report heading into the end of the week. So I don't know if they report before market open or after, but you can just easily go in and search. So I might just do now while we're all here. Avgo 9.5 after market. So they report after the bell. So you would execute that strategy on Friday. And then Docu also after market. So both of them report after market. So that's something that you can keep in the back pocket for Friday Ooh, that can make for some fun little zero date, high risk day trade opportunities on Friday morning there. Now let's go back and finish up with our rapid fire stock news to close us out on this fine hump day. What else is happening? Nokia to help AT&T boost fiber network with US made components. Boeing ticker BA downgraded at Wells Fargo on cash flow limitations. Musk Starlink says it is complying with Brazil's order to block X. Airbnb urges NYC officials to overturn short-term rental restrictions. Nvidia said to receive subpoena from DOJ over antitrust probe. Supermicro CEO addresses financial delay. Short seller statements. CSX loses appeal in old antitrust case against Norfolk Southern. Norfolk Southern, something that had done nice for us in terms of a little swing action here. NSC coming through. Um, U.S. Steel to remain American and prioritize U.S. Steel demands. Next payout, Moody's, S&P Global among firms to settle SEC charges. And then Russian missiles blast Ukrainian military academy and hospital. Attacking a hospital is nasty work, but I mean, it just makes me thankful for the country that I live in and the freedoms that I have. And I'm going to continue to honor that by working hard, eating 1% better daily, right, in order to survive these crazy, crazy times. But guess what? We wouldn't be put here if we didn't have the ability to survive and thrive through them. So let's do that and do it together. Everybody have a great rest of the day. That's all for me. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning for our next Premarket Prep session. Have a good one. Peace.